You're listening to The Dental Guys, episode 39, our interview with Justin Moody of the Dentist, Implants, and Worms. In part 1, we discussed where it all started and how did we get here.
And in part 2, we learn more about Justin's practice, which is solely limited to implants and his referral-based practice. We figure out how he created that, what his day-to-day is all about, and we really dive into some nuts and bolts about how to make your implant practice better and how to learn what you need to know to get to the point where you can be a confident implant restorative and placement dentist. It's all this week on episode 39 of The Dental Guys. Welcome to this week's episode of The Dental Guys. I'm John, the Dental Guy.
I'm Wes, the Dental Guy.
And we're pretty, this is an interesting show, Wes, because it's not our typical show. It's not our typical show. You know, we know that most times, as you guys know, we're doing a kind of more of a live format. This show was recorded back at the Voices of Dentistry, which, you know, for those of you who didn't make it out there, hopefully you've been listening to some of these shows and realized that there's some pretty good stuff that we were able to get from this in terms of people we were able to interview, and in this case, people that were able to interview us who really didn't know who we were a whole lot. They maybe had heard of us, listened to a little bit of our stuff, and it was kind of the same with us, to be honest. We had heard of them, but really hadn't listened to a lot of their stuff, and man, it was a really, really great experience getting to meet the guys from Dentist, Implants, and Worms. I mean, we really, it was one of the highlights for me, Wes, of the whole conference. Don't you think?
I think so. I mean, just going there, and we didn't really know Justin before this. We knew of him. I had been on a show with him once before, just from a standpoint of we were talking about CT imaging and things. Yeah. But I mean, that was it. And I knew of him from some connections up in Wisconsin that I had, but didn't really know him. And turns out, John, we have a lot in common.
I mean, his whole practice, you know, is a referral. It's very interesting. It's a referral-based implant practice. So he's taken some very advanced training in implant placement. He's very passionate.
Well, wait a minute. What you're saying is that he is a general dentist,
right? Who
has his only placing dental implants, right? And he's getting referrals from general dentists
who don't know how or don't want to do that, and he's kind of become an implant surgeon
in the middle of
in the Midwest. Well, in the Nebraska, I think, right? Isn't that right?
Yeah. I think the thing that really was eye-opening was one, in part 1 we talk about a little bit about the Dental Guys, how we got started and how Justin got started, and then it really starts to get into like what you should be looking for and how to, you know, educate yourself when it comes to dental implant therapy.
Yeah.
How hard is this stuff?
It's
a very good discussion.
Yeah, one of the things that you'll hear in the interview, but we just talk about the fact, I mean, you guys, if you've listened to us, you know that we talk a lot about the fact that dentistry is not easy, and it's not supposed to be easy when you get into these more complex topics. And so, you know, I think that it was interesting because Justin, I get the feeling, really struggles with, you know, now he's living in that world of kind of the specialist in a way, and he sees the quality of the referring dentist that he's working with, and he sees what they struggle with, and he sees kind of their lack of attention to wanting to be better. And I think that's kind of what our show is all about, is so we're maybe the antidote to what Justin is dealing with here, is trying to take things to the next level, which we talk about all the time. And so in the first part of the show, I think you'll start to get the feel of Justin kind of going, well, this is sort of what I'm looking for in referring dentists, but yet he's really struggling to find people who want that. And then, you know, part 2 is kind of diving into a little bit more the nuts and bolts of implant dentistry? Kind of what is he doing? What is he seeing? He's been doing implants.
It's a discovery process with him because he's been doing it a lot longer than we have, and it really speaks to what a lot of that we know matters to us now, and really made me feel good about your and our conclusions about implants, implant design, restoring implants, and really it's disappointing in some respects is that he reveals his disappointment with a lot of clinicians that aren't taking it to the next level, or really not even taking it to the next level, just not understanding the nuts and bolts of implant dentistry.
Right. And to the point where he had to, start a lab just because he wanted to have more control over the restorative side because he was struggling with a lot of the same things you hear from our good surgeons, which is just trying to keep quality high for the patients that they're putting implants into. And we really get into some of that with him and talk about what can we do? What can we do to make things better? And we really came out with a lot of respect because Justin and in his practice are doing it right. I think you would agree, Wes. They're doing it absolutely right, and they're trying their very best to keep quality high, but I feel like they're kind of having to drag along their referring docs. And so we hope that if you're a general dentist who's referring to specialists or someone that's placing implants for you, that you really learn maybe more what are they looking for, how can you make things better for them. And if you're a specialist, that you're learning maybe some things you can do to encourage your referring dentist to take it up a notch. And then Wes, I think we'll split this up into 2 episodes. So this first episode 39 is going to be about an hour or so, and then the second part of this will be a separate episode. Yeah,
we'll release that here in a few weeks, and part 2 you'll be able to enjoy that. So we're excited about it.
We are, and so here it goes. This is part 1 of our interview with Dentist Implants and Worms, episode 39 of The Dental Guys.
Welcome to another episode of Dentist Implants and Worms. We are live here, Studio 1B. That's 1B, and it is in Nashville, Tennessee. As the pasty gangster is pouring himself a vodka soda. We did not buy this from our sponsor because we just weren't going to drag it. Yeah, we just couldn't do it. So sorry, Boyd's Wine and Spirits, but we are representing you on the banner today here at the Inn at Opryland.
And I believe we're the only podcast that is sponsored by a liquor store. So
I fully agree. So
to the chagrin of many.
Yeah. Absolutely. So to my right also is the impeccable Gabe Olson. To my left, making his first appearance today after coming out of his hibernation from last night. The pasty gangster.
The beast has awoken.
Yes. He has not found a barber yet, but it's okay. It's all right. He's growing up. We've got some pretty awesome guests here today. We got doctors Wes Mullins and John Rogers. They are fellow podcasters, and they are blazing the trail, the dentalguys.net. So individually, let's start with you, Wes. Give us your life story in like 10 seconds, man.
All right, 10 seconds. Here we go. I was born, became a dentist. No. Okay, so.
I was born a dentist.
Right.
Yes.
Right. Honestly, I grew up in an engineer's home, mining engineering, and Dad always pushed me to just go beyond that and do something like, what medical is what I kind of got into. But I always worked with my hands and enjoyed doing that growing up. And the long story short is, talking to medical professionals and looking at, what type of field to pursue. Even my osteopathic doctor, he said, you need to get involved in dentistry. He said, my dental friends take Fridays off. He's like, PPO's on the way. And this is like in the 90s, early 90s. He was like, you need to just go be a dentist. And I'm like, okay. So long story short, went into undergrad, actually applied to dental school early, got in after my 3rd year of undergraduate. And just
overachiever.
So just excelled that way. And always wanted to own my own business. And so that was like because of my dad owning his own business, just came out of dental school. And I said, before I go into private practice, let's do a little bit more education here. And talked to some guys that were doing a general practice residency at UT Medical Center in Knoxville, Tennessee. And they said, man, they'll let you do anything down there. And what I mean by anything, I was like, well, what's that mean? And he said, man, they're letting you deliver babies. You're doing, I mean, believe it or not, you're doing, family medicine rotation, that type of thing. And on top of that, it was a general practice GPR, meaning like, very interesting how they had set it up. It's full fee for service there, general practice. So that money from that practice helps supplement the education. Nice. And so the graduate medical school of education there didn't have to pony up as much money, and as funds got tighter and tighter and tighter, well, you still had that practice there full of patients. So we got to work day one on patients in a general practice. So everything from implant placement, then you'd walk out of a room doing a filling, you'd be like, hey, you got to call up on floor 3, and we've got, a patient that was in an accident, and they need their face sutured, and they're going in with the oral surgeons doing cancer surgery the next month. I mean, and then the next month you might be going into family medicine, doing a rotation in there. So long story short is I did that for a year, came out of that, still stayed on as an attending. I'm attending there today, but I have a full-fledged private practice. I started from scratch in 2004 with 0 patients. And
where at?
Powell, Tennessee.
Okay.
Just outside of Knoxville. Basically, it's a small suburb of Knoxville. I'm right across the city limit line. So. Have
you seen the gold?
No, I haven't.
Isn't that where?
Do they think it's in there?
Maybe.
There is some sort of like Fort Knox. There is
That's
some sort
Kentucky.
Fort Knox. No, Fort Knox.
Fort Knox.
You're thinking Fort Knox.
Fort Knox.
Oh.
Yeah.
Fort Knox is Kentucky. Knoxville, while having the exact same word,
That's right.
It's not the
I
gold.
see where he's going with this.
Yeah.
There is the original fort is still there in Knoxville. But it has nothing to do with Fort Knox.
Yeah, the Kentucky is where the they hit it up there.
But there was a Fort Knox in Knoxville.
There is a fort there in the downtown area, right beside Pat Summitt's big women's basketball Hall of Fame. Right, Laura?
Yeah. Well, so
James White. Yeah, James White is who that was. That's his house.
Yeah.
I guess I just assumed. I just thought the gold was in Knoxville.
That was not 10 seconds, but that's pretty much.
Perfect.
And, I teach and speak for some implant companies and that kind of thing. But and John can tell you how we met, which was pretty weird. But
yeah, it was weird.
That's how you start a story.
It was weird.
Don't leave us in suspense.
Yeah. So just quickly, just so you kind of know who I am, my dad was a dentist. Didn't really want to do dentistry. In fact, didn't want to do anything my dad did for a little while, many of us.
As we all know.
Yeah, as we all know, yeah. So, not going to do that for sure. And then kind of figured out, actually, that was a pretty cool thing. And so decided to go that direction. Went to school at UConn for dental school and came back to Tennessee, practiced with my dad for a few years and took over the practice when he retired. And so private practice there in a small town of about 15,000, county of about 65,000. So rural for sure. And closest big town, I'm about an hour and a half from West. And that's probably the closest big town. So we're kind of in the sticks a little bit. And it's great. I love it. It's mountains, Appalachian Trail. It's just it's a beautiful place. And so, yeah, we're about 4 hours from where we are right now to my place, kind of getting up in the mountains. So right across from Asheville, which is a cool place. Close to Knoxville, close to Atlanta, but really not in any of those. So that's where I'm at. So Wes and I, we had practiced, pretty close to each other. We'd even used same dental labs, which we didn't know at the time, even like multiple dental labs as we changed. It was just weird. And so about, I guess this was maybe 5 years ago now, not quite 5 years, maybe 4 years, we both had a oral surgeon friend who we were both working with placing Astrotech implants, and we were both of us very into implants, and had done some speaking and talking, and so this oral surgeon said, we're going to go to the Astrotech World Congress. There's this guy Wes that you'll love him. He's great. So let's go. So we all went to the Astrotech World Congress in Sweden, where Nobel is headquartered, where Astrotech's headquartered, and so I'm like, oh, geez, this dentist is going to be there. His wife was coming. My wife was coming. My wife's like, this is going to be horrible. I'm going to have to hang out with this random girl who I don't know, and it's probably going to be a freaking train wreck, and she's going to be a supermodel.
Because dentists are weird, man.
Yeah, and dentists are weird, and so I'm like, this is going to be this weird dentist, and it's going to be just horrible. So, I mean, I just was preparing myself for the fact that I might just have to we'd strike out on our own. So Wes and I met, never met each other. the oral surgeon guy wasn't even there. He didn't show up until like a day later. So we just like, hey, I'm John, I'm Wes. Yeah, hi, nice to meet you in another country. And it turned out that we had like a lot of the same history and interest and stuff, and never met each other, but had only been an hour away, and kind of just hit it off immediately. And our wives hit it off too, which helps a lot too. And from that point on, we kind of kept a running conversation on Google Hangouts, where we would send case stuff to each other. We would send photos, x-rays, just going back and forth. Hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about this?
Started going to CE with each other.
Yeah, started going to CE, started finding meetings, started talking about journal articles, started just kind of, just
so you
challenging
guys
each other.
Into each other's mentor.
We kind of did. We kind of did. We started just challenging each other. Hey, how are you getting better at this? Where are you at? What are you learning? What are you seeing? And from that point on, it just evolved into the podcast. Really, we just kind of a couple years ago, we said, hey, this conversation, we could take this onto a podcast, just continue what we're normally doing, and make it more clinical, not necessarily business. There was a lot of business stuff out there, so we're like, well, let's just talk about clinical stuff and geek out about journals and, argue about things that we argue about, and that's kind of how we got to start the podcast.
Well, let's get a plug out of the way. So where do they find you?
Yeah, so if you go to iTunes, you can pick out our podcast, The Dental Guys, on iTunes.
And make sure you put the in there. It stumped us for a little while, so start with the.
The Dental Guys, yes, that's a good point. Good point. And we've got a Facebook page as well, The Dental Guys. We're on Twitter, The Dental Guys, and also thedentalguys.net, where we have a lot of we do video and audio podcasting, so you can find our video stuff on YouTube and our audio stuff through a lot of those other channels.
Yeah, we were trying to search for you, and we were coming up with all kinds of weird stuff. So yeah, that's good to know. The Dental Guys.
Yes.
All right.
Perfect. So, implant-wise, I have a moderate interest in implants.
Just
so,
yeah,
moderate. Just slightly.
Moderate.
As do we.
where'd you guys gather your implant education? Like, what have you done? Who have you seen?
Okay. Well, I'll start with that, and then you can do yours. When I was at UConn was a very implant-centric dental education program. They had a Straumann implant center there, and they very strongly felt that all the four-year dental students should place implants at some point during their time. So it was a requirement. We had to place implants in dental school, which is still rare, I think, these days.
Totally.
So I didn't, it wasn't anything crazy, but I put a couple implants in for some ball attachments at the time, and one single premolar. So it was like, okay, this is something that was cool. They taught us a lot. They really focused on kind of the pros department, which is a big implant-centric department, really just hammered on implants. So I came out with a pretty good interest, but the biggest thing that really got me going was the Academy of Osteointegration. So Academy of Osteointegration, when I was a senior dental student, I got an award for implant dentistry, and it was a start into that organization. So I started going to their annual meetings. I started getting involved a little bit with some of that education, and really found Jomi, the journal Jomi, started reading a lot of Jomi and JPD. And from there, just kind of, the authors that I was seeing in these journals, I started going, okay, these are some guys that I want to kind of follow. So at that point, I was just doing restorative. I had placed implants in school, but I really didn't do any placing because I just didn't feel like I was there yet. So I just was doing restorative, and for years did that, tried to get better and better and better, going to meetings like the AO every year, seeing, finding these guys that I felt were pushing the level to a higher point, and just trying to follow these CE guys wherever they would go, and listening to them. And about the time I met Wes, I was kind of at the point where I was really looking at placing implants more. And Wes really kind of pushed me on into that because, he'd been doing it for years and said, hey, this is something, you know the prosthetics, you know where these implants need to go, and the surgery from having been around this, so you need to just take it to the next level, which is our whole thing with our podcast, learn to do it. I'm in a rural area, so it's kind of a good fit because I was referring people 45 minutes away or an hour away to get implants placed, and so it was really a good niche. And I didn't do it really for business so much as I thought it was a great service, and I just
service for your patients.
Yeah, I was passionate about it. So I was like, okay, it's time to do this. And Wes helped me a lot with that. And
well, the interesting thing is that I actually came up there and worked with you for about 3 or 4 months.
Yep.
During the summer, whenever you had to have me come in and help out.
Yeah, I had a situation where I had a doc out and had to have somebody, and Wes was gracious enough to come help me. And at the same time,
all I said was like, hey man, if you want me to, I'll just bring my implants up there.
Yeah.
And he was like, really? I was like, yeah, I'll bring my kit. I'll just pick it up on Thursday evening, and I'll drive up there. And I said, it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
And so in 3 months, we placed 11 implants. And it was just like boom, 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 boom. And he was like, whoa.
Yeah. So I learned a lot during that time. And then I got a cone beam, and that really pushed me to the next point where I felt very comfortable about making that a daily thing. And so I'm not putting in a ton of implants. I'm still referring a lot of implants, but that's become something I do now. So now we're at the point where, and Wes and I talk a lot about this, at looking at different companies, at looking at implant designs, at talking about, what implants should we be using, designs, and that's kind of where I'm at now with it. So I've done a lot of full arch stuff. I've done a lot of singles, and just have a lot of fun with that.
So as far as my education, it starts in dental school. I wiggled my way in. My wife had a tonsillar crypt that needed to be cut out, and the chief oral surgeon there, I kind of just become his friend. He's working on my wife, and so, and I told him, I said, I got a few patients that need some dental implants, and he was like, I was really interested in that, and like he let me do the surgery, and I was like, whoa, that's pretty sweet. And I got the exact same award that John got. We don't even know each other at this time.
Oh wow,
got interested.
Freaking weird, man.
It's very weird. Got interested in Jomi. I've got and got that whole thing. You get the free subscription for a full year, and you start reading this stuff, and it was just sweet. And so then in residency, we were just pushed even more to, it's not a heavily implant-centric residency, but it's enough that you're going to learn principles and the standard stuff, 1.5 millimeters of bone all the way around type things, healed ridge surgery, enough to where you go out in private practice, you can start putting some implants in, but you still need to kind of pursue other educational avenues. And so I would just continue to push myself, and where I got more and more comfortable is that I had mentors. I had a periodontist, and I had an oral surgeon right next to me, and a periodontist like down the road from me, and both of them had confidence in me. And I would go right at the beginning when I started from scratch. I didn't buy the equipment like in the first 6 months. And the oral surgeon, he was like, Wes, he was like, just come over to my practice. I'll sedate your patients for you, and you can put the implants in. And I'm like, really? He was like, yeah, no problem. So I would go over there, and he was like, you just need to be doing this. And then the periodontist was like, Wes, you just need to be doing this, because they knew that I had the training, and they were saying, you're confident enough to go forward with this treatment planning and proposing the right time. Now, it's not every implant. I don't place every implant that's available for a patient to have, because I'm not qualified for certain things, certain procedures. I just don't feel like I'm doing it every day. So, and they knew that. And they knew that I was not, so proud that I'm going to be like the catch-all implant general dentist, that we're going to work together. And what happened is that as I invested in my education, staying involved with Academy of Osseointegration, staying around people like the Mishes, the Branamark peoples, and then just going to good quality CE, which is really, you have to travel and see. You can't stay in your local study club and get the quality of CE for implant dentistry. I see you shaking your head no, and it's exactly the problem today, is that you have to
can't learn it on a YouTube video
to go to. You got to hear the Tarnows, you got to hear the Linkovic, you've got to hear. You got to hear people like Pico's talk, and you've got to dive into this stuff and really learn good surgical technique. And then you got to put yourself around good mentors. So like an oral surgeon friend of mine that, that he trusts you and he believes in you. And because of this, you end up doing more dentistry and you end up doing more implants, because guess what? Not only do John and I place dental implants, but we get all the referrals. So we get the hard cases that the oral surgeon calls you up and says, Wes, I need this completely under your control.
Right.
Let's do the case.
We got to immediate load this, and I don't have anybody that I trust to handle that.
Right. So high end, high value, high aesthetic cases, full arch zirconium hybrids, or really just, crown and bridge like cases.
Failed cases.
You're
retreating.
Rehabs, using like old 1980s implants, not taking those out and figuring out prosthetics and parts that go on that to still give an amazing result that's functional and aesthetic for the patient. And so really for me, it's like a whole big circle, is that, I was the surgeon and the placer and learned the restorative part. But then as my mentors saw that I was valuing my placement techniques and my surgical protocols, they saw that both of us, and that's when I told John, I said, John, you're already doing these things at a high level. I said, you know the simple cases you can do. Yep. And I said, I will come to your office and I will mentor you. And we placed 3 different brands of implants. Now you're on your 4th brand. Yep. And we could talk about brands all day long.
We're going to here in a minute.
Yeah. But I mean, like, that's kind of how, I pushed myself to just stay. And we feel like that, even today, whenever I talk to young clinicians that are interested in placing dental implants, if you're not going to the major meetings, you don't need to be placing. Mm-hmm. I'm just going to say it. So
here's my take. You guys get it. And what I say by get it is, I train dentists, general dentists to place implants. Mm-hmm. But my message to them is to be Wes and John. And that is, do make implant dentistry a tool in your toolbox.
Right.
Because you're doing everything else. You got composites and crowns and all these other things. But when you come across the no, put it back. Oh. When you come across the terminal tooth or the edentulous area, the only real solution for tooth replacement is dental implants. That's really it. And whether you come across the case that you're not confident or qualified in doing, and I think as a general dentist, it is your responsibility to understand when you're qualified for that case and when you aren't. And
absolutely.
There's a distinct line, and you need to know it. And some of us go into implants, and that's the only thing we do. And I don't have that deal. But you know what? You don't want me doing a composite either. You know what I mean? Like I was in my referring one of my offices. I go down. I got 4 dental offices in Nebraska, and I go down there, and all my docs have been through the training. But it's funny because all 4 of them have a different risk level, and they all have a different confidence level. And some do almost everything except for the really hard stuff. Others are only the only the abundant bone healthy individuals, and that's fine. That's why I go down there. And we were talking about knowing your risk assessments, and where that is, and it's a part of being a good dentist, and being involved in organized dentistry. You guys fell into the AO through school.
Yep.
Through school. The AO is not big in the Midwest.
Right.
I
went coastal.
I went Oklahoma. My teaching is west and in the heart of the country, like from the Rockies to the Mississippi. That's my zone.
Gotcha.
And mostly ICUI, AAID.
Yep.
For me, my path was through the AAID, the credentialing pathway, and now I'm on their membership committee and things like that. But your story, about meeting each other and learning and the JOMI and such, I've been a member of the AO almost my entire deal. I've never been to their meeting. But I'm a member because I want that journal, because I read the journal. But I like all 3 of the organization's journals because they, and I don't read every article. I look through it. I either look at people's names,
right,
or the subject,
right?
Because we all don't have time to read them from cover to cover.
No.
But it's what you interested. But I do agree with the big meeting setting. Like, if you're not willing to go to one of these organizations, I don't care if it's the ICUI or the AID or
that's
the AO,
not the point.
Because truthfully, the people that lecture it's kind of the same people.
A lot of the same people.
A lot of the same people.
But don't you think that the millennials out there, they just want somebody it's like this YouTube mentality. Yeah,
they want it on that. They want it on that. I'm tapping my cell phone. Yeah, you can't hear it. But they want their media here, and gone is that I'll tell you this, the big meeting thing.
Yeah.
Not only do you get the people's expertise and such, but you get to interact with them.
Yes.
And you get to, and those that you may consider that your mentors or speakers that you really know, mine are judged upon how interactive they are with you, and how receptive they are to coming down to your level and talking to you. And for me, I've never been about being that guy. I took all of Mish's courses. We owe him a debt of gratitude for the arrows he took for when implant dentistry was quackery, you know, and everyone thought it was. But I always remember him leaving the lectures. He'd grab his roller little bag, down the aisle he went, and he was gone. You know, and you had no, you didn't have a humanality to it.
True.
Versus. Versus going to see Mike and Picos and he stays afterwards and no one's not accessible to him.
Right. Yeah, some of our best things about these meetings have been like coming up to Steve Chu after the meeting and being like, hey, man, this is what we're seeing. What do you think about this? Yeah. And him actually sitting there and talking to you about it. And that's
and then
that's
following up with an email to you, because you gave him your email because you wanted to get a journal article that he quoted and he actually sends it to you. Those are the things that you want to be like those guys, because you know that's the responsibility that we have, is to pass that on. That's what the podcast thing does in some way, depending on how the podcast is structured. But that's, I think, why that we are passionate about that part of the podcast, is because we've seen those guys. But I think that there's nothing that replaces being in front of somebody, hearing the high-level stuff and having to digest it. I know it's hard. I know it's sometimes obtuse. I know it's sometimes you have to process it. But you know what? It's supposed to be freaking hard. This is hard. It's not supposed to be easy. You can make it easy once you go through and you pay your debt and you do it right, and then it becomes easy, but not because it was easy. And I think that you see a lot of marketing coming from this. Oh, let me show you how easy this can be. Right. And I mean, I understand that gets people in the door, and sometimes that's a way you got to market. But, man, like, we don't want it to be easy. We're proud of the fact that it's just freaking hard, man.
You talk about the meetings again. I always come back to the meetings, but I think there's three levels of learning for me at those meetings. You have the speaker and the highest of knowledge, which is generally those that are on the cutting edge. Whether in 5 years what they said was relevant or not, doesn't matter. It was relevant at the time. Their accessibility and your ability to network. The second comes from, especially practicing in rural, more rural areas. I don't get reps and such from all these companies. I think the trade shows are invaluable, because you get an opportunity to see what else is out there, you know, and you don't get that anywhere else. I mean,
the best trade show I've ever been to was the International Dental Show.
IDS.
Oh, my word.
Right,
IDS.
Right. Yeah, I'm going this year.
Like, let me just tell you, it's an implant haven. I mean, it is unbelievable.
Is it buggy, though, some of the stuff you see over there?
Oh,
you
man.
Can't
like,
get
you're
over
like,
here. You're like, what the hell?
Why?
Yeah.
Because the stupid FDA, they don't even have a test for something like that.
But
we're talking about short implants, well, I mean, no joke, 3mm pancakes.
Yeah. But you're right, though, that those, you get to see what's out there, and you also get to talk to people who are doing these different systems and talk about, well, how's this working for you on a reality basis, So it's a balance between those two things.
Right. And the third place that I learn as much about implant dentistry, and it's the humanality, is out to dinner, to the in the lounge, those things.
Yeah, man.
I learn as much about implant dentistry from sitting at the table having a cocktail or a coffee or whatever than I do in the lecture. It's a different kind of learning. It's a different kind of learning.
That's relationship business.
Yeah. And you break it down into, again, like, what are you really seeing?
Right.
Is it really working like he said it works?
Right.
Because it doesn't always.
Well, the nuts and bolts are always passed on. I feel like crafts, like we try to make dentistry into some system thing, because this is a variable. This body is a variable. The biology, all this stuff is like, what? Why did that happen? And so, when you're working like with wood in your hands, and like that craftsman has 20 or 30 years of experience crafting some kind of a wood, whatever craft. My dad's into wood. I got into wood. The feel, the grain. As hard as it is to teach somebody the difference between D1 and D2 and D3 and D4 bone, it's impossible without knowing the craft. And so whenever you're hand-holding that clinician the first time they go through the cortical plate, and you're saying, now wait, this is how it's going to feel, and my dad's like, tell me, you see how that 300 grit sandpaper, works on that? And he said, now let's add a little water to that. And then you see how this stain makes that color change and brings out that grain. Can't get that on YouTube.
Yeah, right.
And that's the individual training you're talking about. That's the individual sitting down talking, being there. It's not, you don't get that from the lecture.
Yeah. So it's not supposed to be easy. And I've I just launched my implant training continuum, and it's funny because the people coming out of school, don't do continuing education like I did.
Yeah.
They don't do the big meetings like my associates. I tell them, I was like, hey, I'm going to the ICOI in a few weeks in New Orleans, and I said you need to go, and they're just like, yeah, but I'm not ready for a mastership or whatever. And it's like, I don't give a shit. Like that. That's not why you go, and they're just like, but they want their information on their phone. So when I was putting this, I think about all the courses that I did, from the Maxi courses to Mesh to Picos to Russo. I mean, the whole list. I start thinking, I was like, what was good, what was bad? How do you cut some of the fluff out and just make sure that you get them what they need? And I got to thinking, nobody likes to travel anymore.
Right.
I don't mind it, but because I grew up taking the CE that way. So I was like, okay, what in my education, put me to sleep? And it's like pharmacology,
right,
bone physiology, those things. So I took all those modalities and I put them in an online course, 16 one-hour online courses. So that's session 1. You can do it in the underwear on your couch, on an iPad, whatever it is. Then when you come to session 2, I have very distinct goals. My goal is for you to understand the surgical kit. You talk about wood. I've got styrofoam, balsa, pine, oak, and we talk and we drill through those. It's not the same, but
it's a feel.
It's a feel.
Yeah.
It's a tactile feel with the drill, and it's very different. I mean, each one of them, each block is labeled D1, D2, D3, D4, and then I have this. I always keep out of the stick of butter, and I'm just like, this is D5 butter bone. You don't need to drill in it in any circumstance.
Right.
But it's those things. So you try to dial them in. Like, I just want them to understand picking good, healthy, abundant bone cases for your first 100. Like, just start with some success. Don't start by taking number 8 out.
Oh,
right.
Right. Don't, like, I don't care if that is the first one that walks in after you do it.
Yeah.
Like,
right.
no,
don't
like,
do it.
Like the most abundant spot is the lower first molar.
Yeah,
like,
man.
just do an abundant bone case. I always say get 100 of them in. The reality is, once you got 30 or 40 in, like, that you want to start moving forward, and that's natural. That's what you're supposed to do.
Exactly.
But if you got that 100 goal, sometimes they do it. So I just think that education and my course, you gotta do the online. You gotta go somewhere twice. Whether it's in one of 5 cities, and then the fourth one is going and placing implants on patients in Phoenix. And yes, it's not easy. Yes, you gotta leave your practice. Yes, you gotta pay me tuition. But you know what? I think I've created something that when you go home, they can become you guys. And that's
over
my
time,
that's
should be worth
my
$1 million to 1. It just should be.
It's a no-brainer, man. I mean, anytime we go, we've been going to Spear for the last few years, and we spend $5,500 on this course, and every single time it turns an ROI of 100 to 1 probably over a 5-year period. I mean, and it's amazing the things. And so it's the same with implants. And not that, but you know what though? I will say that shouldn't be the reason you're doing it either. Because if it's just about that you're doing it because you're like, I'm not busy, so I'm going to do implants. Like, I have a real problem with that, and I see it a lot.
It's also not going to help your practice either, because if you don't look at the practice globally as how do I take care of every aspect of my patient and treat them well, then it doesn't really matter. It's funny. You go AO and Spear. I went AAID and COIS.
Yeah.
I did all the COIS deal. I become a mentor out there.
Yeah,
and the COIS thing, just like what you said, the Spear. There's no way I could be the implantologist I am today without the COIS, without the occlusion centric, without the treatment planning.
That's
centric.
restorative driven design.
Yes, yeah. It's crown down.
Yeah,
I mean, it's not just for endo. Crown downs for implant dentistry. So that's the key. Like, that's kind of like my new goal. Like, I want to train guys to become the dental guys.
Oh man.
Well, that's pretty good of you to say that.
There.
I mean,
I do, because you guys get it. Like, I don't train people, say, hey, what? I don't expect you to become an ABOI diplomat and limit your practice to implants and do this stuff. That's not what I'm doing. I want good advocates for dental implant dentistry.
Exactly.
I want good advocates for tooth replacement that's going to potentially last them a lifetime.
And give implants a good name. Have people that say, "Hey, I got an implant. You need to get an implant."
The thing.
I hate here's the deal. I hate bus driver dentists because
Preach.
Keep
on
testify, brother.
Yeah.
We're in the South, the Bible Belt, baby.
Amen. You can preach it.
Heal.
I hate the bus driver dentist, but I don't dislike the dentist that has an implant go south, because you know what? I got a ton of them out there. I've got implants that I'm not overly proud of.
Sure.
I've got implants that fail. I get them that have it peri-implantized. And if you don't have those things, you either lie,
right,
or you don't place enough of them. You haven't done enough of them.
Right.
So when I when I see an implant that fails and it goes somewhere else, and they're like, "Oh, he should have never done that," or he got it off on an angle, or whatever it is, I step back and it's like, you're not being an implant advocate. The guy that doesn't go get any training and just does a manufacturer weekend course. That's that's the worst. Like
that's the worst, man.
All of us that do a continuum, we have an implant company in the back that helps make the thing work, but it's not a weekend course. They're not driving it. You don't have to buy their implant. You can buy whoever's implant. I have to choose a system. And I have to show you a system, because at some point on an X-ray and in my lecture, you have to see something,
right?
Right. So it's not. I happen to use BioHorizons, but this is not a BioHorizons course. This is my course.
Right.
I also show Nobel. I'll show some Camlog. I even play some OsteoReadies for a while. I mean, I show those all, and I was telling someone earlier, you're going to see a ton of my failures in my courses, because those are the ones you will learn from.
Right.
I can show you perfect after perfect after perfect, but that's not what it's about.
Right.
Like I'm not here to show you how I can do these things. That's irrelevant. The purpose of it is to, hey, I got off this way because I did this thing. Don't do it this way.
Right. You're not promoting your ego by showing your portfolio.
No, I sure hope. Yeah, that's if that's what you want to do.
What percentage of people out there teaching don't talk about their failures?
Most.
That's sad.
Yeah, you see the perfect case
because they're up there and they're showing you how this is done and how that's done. This is no deal. But like, if you listen to Team Atlanta, if you listen to Salama, when's the last time you saw Salama show you a failure?
So true, man.
Not going to happen.
Not going to happen.
It's not going to happen. It's boom, boom, boom. Look what I can do. Look,
right.
And it's never about you can do this. Like, listen. 99% of the people can't do
That's right.
that.
It's like, this is what's possible. They're teaching what's possible, which doesn't really help most people in terms of having the real life lesson of that. It doesn't always work, but that's okay. It's principles. It's hammering the principles home, and it's not just saying I'm done with learning. You're not done, and it's not easy, and you need to keep on, because if you're not willing to put that in, then we're going to have a problem at some point, and you're not going to know where to go, because you never really were committed to that in the first place. And again, most times those same folks, unfortunately, if you really get down to why they're doing it because they're not busy. And why were they not busy? I would say, and I know this is controversial, but it's probably because they sucked at other things too. Not all of them, okay? I know that I know that's harsh, but like if your practice sucks and you're sucking and you don't have any freaking patience, don't go learn how to do implants because your practice sucks.
So it's like they jump on the implant bandwagon because that's the new thing, right?
Yeah, they're like, this will make me money and it'll turn my practice around.
This is gonna resurrect.
They go from one thing to the next because they're looking for some type of internal satisfaction, and they're not going to get that.
But they're not treatment planning, and they're not. They don't know how to educate, and they don't know how to communicate, and then they're going to go put an irreversible piece of titanium in someone's face. And when they have problems, now it's a much bigger problem. I'd rather you try a new crown material and have that fail, because at least we can do something easy about that. But when it gets into implants, now this is a permanent problem you've created, and that's the thing that Wes and I have such a we struggle with, and I'm sure you struggle with, and when you're educating, is that on one hand, you want people to come in who say, hey, I want to learn this because I want my practice to grow. There's some good things about that, but it's a fine line between that and saying, well, why are you here? Are you here because you really want to take this to the next level, or are you here because you're looking to turn your practice around? And maybe there's something else going on. You got to, like you say, you wouldn't be the implantologist you were without Kois. It's more than just the implant. The implant is a tool. That's a perfect way to put it, I think, Justin. It's like it's a part of the overall.
It's just a tool in your toolbox. Your toolbox in your garage has socket wrenches. It has screwdrivers. Right. It has open-ended boxer. It has all the tools because there's no one tool for every job. And the same thing. We have hand pieces for teeth. We have hand pieces for implants, and we have a whole modality of working on individual sections within dentistry. And implants are just one for missing tooth or terminal teeth, but that's it. And you talk about the single greatest thing that I did for my practice is not on the implant side. It was John Kois, and Kois put it all together. It allowed me to be able to sit down, look at a patient, and not go back to my desk and stare at an articulated set of casts and like,
what do I do?
What do I do? All right,
what if?
Well,
right.
this is. This is my plan.
It's demystified the minute you look in the mouth.
Yeah, there's a system now where you can look at things and you can figure it out.
I don't bring people back for the only time I do a secondary consult is if they didn't bring the decision maker with them.
That's
and
right.
And they need to come back, and that person needs to hear my spiel as well.
Case in point, a lady walks in yesterday, and she.
Hey, wait. This is a damn good podcast. I'm just telling you, like this is a damn good podcast. No, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
So don't jinx it now that you're bringing the story up.
Getting back to what you said, though, I think all of us know that clinical skill is it doesn't dictate how successful a guy is going to be.
Yeah.
Right.
And you guys all know guys that are crazy successful, and you probably wouldn't refer anybody that you have a friendly relationship to. But he's got a bigger house and a bigger car and probably a bigger checkbook because he is a personable dude and he knows how to run a practice.
Yep. And it starts with that. And I think that when you take that and you say
the intimidating part is that these guys all can practice and they all do bring the clinical.
We've got
and I'm right in Gabe's face.
Just go ahead and give him a kiss.
Sean Vandeviver, everyone, ladies and gentlemen.
Right. That's right.
How's everyone doing?
Rocking it, man. We're rocking it.
Oh, man.
Tell us about you were showing a case.
Yeah, case in point is like it's not rocket science, but it's the demystifying effect and the confidence that you elude when you walk into a room. This lady walks in, tells the story. You can tell she's intelligent. She doesn't look like she's intelligent, but never judge a book by its colors. I don't care who you are in practice,
don't do it.
Because, man, that person is your next $100,000 case. Okay,
sure.
So this lady sits in my office before I take her to my room. She explains, like, hey, I used to have beautiful teeth. She pulls out her model. She said, this is what my teeth used to look like, full complement, 28 teeth, restorative, the whole bit. She said, but, tough times. And she said, I used to use a Rotodent. And I'm like, somebody uses a Rotodent, they care. And so I'd say, let's go back after just talking to her for 5 or 10 minutes, getting who she was. We go back, and I look in her mouth. First thing I do is take those pictures right there.
Yeah.
Immediately I said, you know what, let's take a CT. And I said, then you come to my office. So she comes back into my office. I don't need to do a periodontal exam. No, I don't need to put a perioprobe in that person's mouth. You know what I said? I said, I told my assistant, go ahead and print complete over complete in all 4 options.
Mm-hmm.
We went from dentures with stabilized 2 lower locators all the way up through full arch hybrids.
And how amazing is that feeling?
That patient walked out with treatment plans that day. Her decision maker is scheduled back in next week.
But that's the power.
And we will call her.
But that's the power of treatment planning. It's not about.
But that's the confidence, though. But how many people are political and say, well, we may be able to save a few.
Right.
Come on.
That's the deal. And here's the, having these offices and all these associates, the hardest thing for the new dentist, is coming in there with confidence, because that's the key.
Mm-hmm.
The confidence needs to come from. There's a different kind of confidence from the cocky young dentist that thinks he knows everything, versus the confidence of having a a Spear Center driven, science-based treatment planning plan.
Where you know that you know.
100%.
Yeah, man.
You know, you still don't know what you don't know, but you
know
more than the average.
Right. You can say, like, this is what we have to do. And if they say no, you're like, you know what, then we just shouldn't treat it. Yeah. And that's okay.
Here's the best plan for your health is this. Yeah. Take it or leave it.
Yeah, if you don't want it, that's okay. I don't want to do anything that's not the best thing for you.
Though?
Yeah.
What's that?
Isn't that being a doctor what you just said?
Jesus, I should hope so.
Well, yeah, you would hope so.
But for some reason, we try to separate being a doctor and trying to be somebody's friend.
No, but it goes a lot deeper than that. And I mean, I'm not a dentist, but I tell you, there's times I'll walk in, you got a piece of equipment, and I'm like, there's nothing I can do. I can patch this, or I can throw something in, and 2 weeks later you're mad because I whacked you for whatever this is. You're just like, there's nothing else I can do. You know, we're done. I have nothing else for you.
That's being a technician, not being somebody's friend.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm telling the truth.
Sometimes no treatment is the best treatment.
Absolutely.
There's so many times.
I'm not going to treat this.
Right.
Like, you know, she said I can only afford dentures.
Hold on. You can't spit that out without giving the other part of that.
Though the
applesauce is a viable food group.
But you know what? When you tell people that, you need to be eating a steak at the same time.
But it's you're so right. You know, when I talk to my associates, like, you know, how many times have you heard the young doc walk into the room and say, you know, Mrs. Jones, you got this big filling with a crack in it, and I could do a filling or I could do a crown on it.
Oh,
well, then they're going to be like,
we'll do the filling.
What's the price difference?
What's cheaper?
Come on.
We'll do the filling. But if you walk in,
you deal with this with your associate all the time.
But the difference is, you know, you get them if they'll go in there and say, you know, Mrs. Jones, you have this filling. You know, all of a sudden now you have an intraoral picture of the this giant piece of crap on here. You make them own it, and you say, you know, Miss Jones, you have a big filling in here. It covers it's more than 50% of the tooth. By the time I drill it out, it's going to be more like 75%. And truthfully, the most conservative thing I could do for you today is to put a crown on it. The most conservative thing I could do for you today.
Love that.
Right.
And you don't talk about any other option. You just say that's what you need. And they say, you know what? If they come down to us and say, I cannot afford it, and whatever deal is, like, sometimes you may say, okay, you know what, at least let me take it out, put a core buildup in it, bonded core buildup, and maybe we can get you until you do. But you need to know that in the next 6 months, you need to scrimp every penny you can.
Yeah, what you say is, like, if you choose this, though, what you're saying is that you're committing to basically, if you walk out of here tomorrow, it could break.
Right.
And if it breaks, it could be $5,000.
Yeah, because all you have to do is just say,
then it's an emergency procedure anyway, because you're in pain.
That's right.
I mean, once you say, you know, when they ask, can you do a filling, and you say, yeah, we can, absolutely, but when that breaks, you're going to still need a crown,
and it violates all
if
protocols.
If you're okay with spending $200 and then in 6 months spending another whatever it is, $1,500, then sure, I guess but that seems like a waste, you know. And it's just that, like you say, that's the difference between when a confident person walks in the room and not,
I guess,
and the patient picks up on that.
Some of this, I think, could be driven by, and I'm just theorizing here, is that we've talked about debt load on our show quite a bit, because I feel like that these kids coming out with this debt load these days, they would just soon just get some money into the practice, and they go ahead and they stereotype. They immediately judge that, and they say that patient's never going to accept that root canal core and crown, and they're never going to accept that implant, and they're never going to do that, and they already go in that never mentality.
Wow.
You know?
Well,
and then because they have to do something to keep that production goal going.
It's the number one.
I don't know.
And this applies across the board, no matter what profession is. All of us, by human nature, are designed to prejudge people the minute they walk in, by the car they drive, by the clothes they wear, by the way they smell, by their haircut. And when you do, especially you, but when you do that, you've caused their care to suffer, because you're going to pitch the ideal. You're going to avoid pitching the ideal because you don't think that they can afford it.
Right.
And two, you'll never do the things that you want to do in your practice because you never pitched it. You know, like
absolutely.
You talk about the case Wes showed as a lady. All I needed to do is look at that bite, and these are terminal teeth that need full arch reconstruction. And if you picture, we'll save the canines and build you a partial, because you think that's the only thing they can afford. Like pitch them the 6/6 zirconia bridge, and if they fall over and they say no way I can do that, then you drop down a criteria. But you gotta, I think morally, ethically, the whole thing.
Absolutely.
Like you got to put yourself on the other side.
Who doesn't want the best?
Yeah,
who doesn't want the best? You have to put yourself on that side and
believe
say,
in the patient.
If I had that condition and money wasn't an option, I would damn sure hope my dentist pitches me that treatment.
Yeah, you got to believe that patients want what's best, and even when they say no, you don't stop believing that. You still believe that one day they will want the best. Even if they don't right now, that's okay. It's not the point. The point is that you present the best, you're confident about it, you say this is what I would do for my mom or my wife, and then if they say no, it's cool. Like, that's fine. I just want you to know what the best is, and here's the limitations. And we learn how to spear, they say it's like with ortho, same kind of thing. And if somebody says no to ortho, we say, well, let me just tell you what you're saying yes to. You say no to ortho, you need to know what you're saying yes to. You're saying yes to more crowns, more root canals, crown lengthening, whatever it is. And that's fine if you want to say no. Just know what you're saying yes to by saying no. And now it's on them. It's their issue. It's not your problem. That's the other thing that happens in the long run if you have that type of mentality of, well, I'm going to try to help them. Now it's your denture, it's your partial.
And you don't sleep good at night over that.
Right. Well, and then you have emergencies and patients blaming you for the problem. And the whole problem was that you didn't have the guts to just say, this is your issue.
It is.
I can help you. But if you won't let me help you, there's going to be some limitations. And I'm cool with that if you're cool with that. And sometimes they get that and other times they don't.
Right.
Yeah, I agree. God damn, that's a good podcast.
That's a good podcast.
I need a little bit of science in this thing.
What do you want to know?